Fake questions, real answers. I've got things I want to talk about, but don't want to wait for you to ask me the question. Dear Colin, did you see that Arizona quarterback Kyler Murray called you out on Twitter? Well, yeah, I did, but I think Kyler Murray was confused about my 5-minute rant on he and Aaron Rodgers. What I said is, it's easier to build a culture as a head coach with certain athletes. Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers, it's not impossible, but they are harder to build a culture around. They're wildly talented, kind of their own guys, have trust issues, can be kind of detached and aloof. These aren't my opinions. These are well-documented personality traits. Now, I would pay Kyler, and I would pay Aaron Rodgers, but Tim Duncan, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady are easier to build around. They lean into a coach's culture. Kyler leans into Kyler, and Aaron leans into Aaron. That makes it harder. I said this for years. I thought Mike Tomlin has built a very formidable culture. Sometimes Big Ben leaned into it. Sometimes he didn't. He didn't put the time in the offseason, that being Big Ben. I don't worry about the work ethic by Kyler Murray. He insinuates in his Twitter post, he thinks I'm questioning his work ethic. No, not. I'm questioning some personality traits that are difficult. Listen, he was sort of a baseball guy. He was a football guy. He's been somebody as a smaller athlete who is absolutely and justifiably concerned about his health. He wants the money now. I get it. 3 years in a row, he's been better, and Arizona's getting better. But we all know this. We've all worked with people. Some people are salesmen. Some people are executives. Some people can be bosses. People have personality traits. Kyler and Aaron's traits, personality-wise, are harder to build a cohesive culture around. Not impossible. Not impossible. I talked to Christian Kirk, former teammate of Kyler Murray yesterday, now with Jacksonville. They've known each other since high school. They were tight, but Larry Fitzgerald, A.J. Green have both come out and been fairly critical of Kyler. He got too much perhaps too soon. He's not always very verbal or communicative. It's not a criticism. It's a reality. Dear Colin, do you think Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for the Brooklyn Nets deserve each other? Well, I don't know if they deserve each other, but this has to be said. 2 years ago, these guys went on a podcast with each other, and both were quoted saying, "We don't really need a coach." Okay, that's delusional. Here's one thing all dynasties, football, basketball, and baseball, but let's stay to football, basketball. All dynasties have had in common one thing. They've all had legendary coaches. Think about the NBA, the Showtime Lakers, Pat Riley, the Warriors, Steve Kerr, the Bulls, Phil Jackson, the Spurs, Greg Popovich. Those are our four big dynasties. NFL, go to the 70s, Chuck Noll, Steelers. Go to the Cowboys, Jimmy Johnson, the Niners, Bill Walsh, the Patriots, Bill Belichick. Go to college basketball dynasties, UCLA, John Wooden, Duke, Carolina, Mike Krzyzewski, Dean Smith. There's never an exception. The fact that KD and Kyrie tried to invalidate the need for coaching is nuts. I mean, Michael Jordan was not only the best player, he was coachable. Scottie Pippen was able to embrace the fact he would be the best Robin to a Batman in the league. In every field, the greats succeed by trying to push the limits, but they also succeed by knowing their limits and limitations. KD and Kyrie don't get it. You need great coaches, not just great talent. Dear Colin, what do you make of Jerry West getting really upset over his portrayal in HBO's show Winning Time about the Lakers? What I make of it is Jerry demanding an apology and retraction will probably bring more eyeballs to the show. There's something called the Streisand effect. Barbra Streisand years ago saw pictures of her Malibu house, it's on a cliff, on the internet. So she was going to sue people to have those pictures taken off the internet. Instead, the Streisand effect. When she tried to suppress something, more people went to the internet to find out where Barbra Streisand lived. So it's known now as the Streisand effect. Listen, when you're part of a Hollywood production, you do know this, right? The bottom line is they're going to take your personality quirks or habits, and then they're going to embellish them. I mean, Kareem was legendarily prickly and stoic. He's now prickly and stoic on HGH. Jerry Buss was a maverick and a bit of a playboy. He's like Hugh Hefner in this thing. And Jerry West was a bit of a hothead. So in the early episodes, they've made him appear to be a sociopath. But by demanding an apology or a retraction, he'll drive more people to the show. Listen, it's Hollywood. They once did a movie about Jesus and embellished him. If you can embellish him, you can embellish an NBA executive. Chill out, Jerry. Fellas, have you started spring cleaning yet? Yes, the drapes, the carpets, your lawn needs mowed. Spring is sprung, and the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming have the best tools for cleaning aisle 5. Join the other 4 million men worldwide. Go to Manscaped, 20% off, free shipping with the code Colin, COLIN. They have the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer to get the most precise shave on your hedges, the nose and ear hair trimmer with proprietary skin-safe technology from Manscaped. Outstanding. The start of the spring also marks the start of Testicular Cancer Awareness Month in April. Now, that is raising awareness for the most common form of cancer in men ages 15 to 35. Give support for fighters and survivors and families impacted by testicular cancer as part of their We Save Balls initiative. Go to manscaped.com, free shipping, promo code Colin. Time to throw away your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. Dear Colin, Deebo Samuel wants out of the 49ers. What could he learn from the careers of other NFL players? Well, with coaches, talk show hosts, and quarterbacks, I don't think you should be driven by money. Money can be in the back seat of the car, but I don't think it can be in the front seat. I'll explain that in a second. Wide receivers, you can put the money bag right next to you. We don't think less of Randy Moss for no Super Bowls or Calvin Johnson or Larry Fitzgerald. Now, if I was Deebo Samuel, I'd want to ensure if I'm traded, I go to a place with a great quarterback to remain relevant. Randy Moss going to New England remained relevant. He was irrelevant before he went there with the Raiders. And as he left New England, he became less relevant. For a receiver, relevance equals money. Production equals money. So get to a quarterback that can elevate both. Receivers should mostly take the bag first. But let's get back to quarterbacks, coaches, or talk show hosts. Quarterbacks and coaches' legacies are framed around championships. Dan Marino is more talented than Tom Brady or Joe Montana, but we don't talk about him. No Super Bowls. Receivers, we still put Randy Moss top of the class, despite no rings. Talk show host, similar to a quarterback. The platform you are on will overwhelmingly dictate your legacy. Don't get me wrong, I love Jon Stewart. But when he left cable and went to streaming, he just had a show on a streaming platform, and it absolutely bombed. How about Chris Wallace? For years, noteworthy at Fox, he decided to pivot to CNN Plus. Anybody seen Chris Wallace lately? CNN Plus is folded. There's a reason Bill Maher has been relevant for 25 years. He's remained on HBO. There's a reason David Letterman remained relevant for 30 years. NBC, CBS, major platforms. That's why I tell broadcasters, money has to be in the back seat. Chase platforms, stability, and executives and bosses in the front seat of the car. If I'm Deebo Samuel, go after the bag, but cross your fingers you land with a really high-end quarterback at your next stop. Speaking of broadcasting, Colin, my question, what do you think of Netflix losing 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter of this year? Well, I have streaming fatigue. When the pandemic hit, I signed up for everything because I was stuck inside for almost 18 months. The problem with binge viewing, and that's what streaming becomes, is I can watch an entire series on a Tuesday, but then I'm done with that series and done with Hulu or Netflix or Paramount. I'm done with them for another month. On broadcast TV or cable, I get on the treadmill every day to watch my favorite sports show or favorite game or favorite political show. So I'm a regular consumer of cable because it's got me every day. What happened with streaming services, and Netflix is a product of this, is when the pandemic mostly ends and you look at your monthly bill with all these streaming services, it's much higher now than it was with cable. And you're still watching cable much more than you're watching streaming. I pay now more for the 13 streaming services I have than I do for my $132 a month in cable. And I get a lot more hours on cable and a lot more sports. Listen, Wall Street always invested in these companies for the long term. Netflix was losing money every year, but they were growing their subscription base. But they were spending billions a year, 8, 9, 10 billion a year in production costs. That's why a Netflix show, that's why an HBO show, the production levels are so much better than broadcast television. They're paying for better directors. They're paying for more cameras and better actors and better writers. Networks can't keep up. The problem, of course, is networks are leaner and more profitable. And these streaming services, overpaying for everything, were betting that as they grew this consumer base, eventually they would flourish with revenue. Here's a problem. The pandemic mostly ends. Subscribers have streaming fatigue. Their bills have now ratcheted up. And as they leave, all these streaming services are left saying, okay, we've got great quality, but we're still not making money. And now we're losing millions of subscribers. Wall Street has officially bailed. This is something privately I had a conversation with a network president about 2 to 3 months ago. He said, I think, at least domestically, we have 100% or close to it saturation with streaming subscribers. That the growth arc is now plateauing or slightly declining. The Netflix numbers prove that.